today on The Games That Made Me, I'm sitting down with Angelika from the Angelikatosh channel. She's a fantastic channel, especially if you're a fan of things like World of Warcraft or Warcraft in general, or a lot of the Elder Scrolls games. She has fantastic content around those games and a lot of other games as well. So Angelika, a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for joining me today.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
So, the first thing I want to chat about was some of your content. My favorite video of yours, because this hits close to home, was the video you did on playing World of Warcraft as a solo player. Because I do that, I play with friends now and then. But tell me a little bit about how that video came about, what the inspiration was for that, and, if you could go into some of that.
Yeah, so I think that there's a few different angles for me. First and foremost, World of Warcraft kind of started as a solo journey for me because I was a really small kid when I started playing it, and I also didn't speak any English.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, my native language is Russian, but when World of Warcraft came out, it didn't have a Russian client, or at least not a way to play in Russian that I was aware of at the time. And so everything was in English. And, you're very limited in an MMORPG as to how you can communicate. And you're
good point.
You're kind of on your own. I did somehow get into certain party scenarios bit by bit once I started learning English, but the very, very beginning of World of Warcraft for me, it was pretty much a solo game that other players somehow, made their way into that particular solo experience. But then obviously having learned English, World of Warcraft was very fun with other people. But years down the line, especially now, I think that video games in general have changed for a lot of people. So World of Warcraft, back in the early 2000s, it would have been a way to even just in a social media kind of way, communicate with people.
Agreed.
But fast forward to now, we are so oversaturated with all the different mediums in which we can communicate. Everything has a chat function now. Every single games launcher has a chat function. You kind of just don't really want to speak to people anymore. It gets to be a bit too much, And so I think that what a lot of people have done is they've kind of gone into themselves and used World of Warcraft as a way to escape other people. But at the same time, it's kind of this thing. It's really weird, but it's nice to know that they're there. Even if you're not communicating or speaking with them.
Yes.
You're playing alone, but you're not lonely because everyone's there. You see them. They're doing their own thing. And it's a sort of a peaceful existence in that way. People will ask you, well, why don't you just play a single player game? Well, it's not the same. I have to know that there's someone else out there if I need them to be. But yeah, for the most part, I think it's myself, and it's my most viewed video on the channel to this day.
Yeah. I think there's more than just you who feel that way. And you bring up such a good point because when I play World of Warcraft now in modern times, it is very much a solo experience, but knowing there are other players there, knowing what, I want to do a dungeon tonight. So let me, find some people and do that. Having that option really does make it so much more appealing than some single player experiences where you don't have that. And
exactly.
You also mentioned something that I think is so true. So you've been playing since vanilla, I assume. You're playing OG. Let me guess. I'm going to try to guess your race and your class. Were you Alliance or Horde?
Alliance.
Night Elf? Priest? Druid?
Druid, yeah.
Druid. Okay, got it. No, you got to guess mine now and see. I was Alliance as well.
Okay, you strike me as a so vanilla, right? Vanilla races.
Yep.
Okay. I want to say human.
Night Elf.
Night Elf. Okay,
Night Elf
if Night Elf. Man. Not a priest, no. You guessed priest for me. Definitely not. Rogue?
No, Hunter. Close.
Hunter.
Rogue was my second one. I was the OG noob hunter who was wiping raids and stuff like that.
Oh no, you didn't dismiss your pet when you had to, did you?
That happened once in Nomer, and it's burned into my past there. But you brought up such a good point there where, for me, back in 2004, 2005, when I played, that was the way I communicated with my friends when we got home from school. And, there was no, I guess MySpace was around, but, the quickest way to actually have instant conversations was through World of Warcraft. And tell me a little bit about learning English through World of Warcraft. I think that's so interesting. How were you able to sort of navigate the game and incorporate that into your learning?
I think when any kind of learning is gamified, it is amplified. So especially if you're a kid and you're doing something that nobody's forcing you to do, you're just doing it because you want to do it. Like it's literally just like a fun thing that you're doing. World of Warcraft, like in the way that quests are designed, right? So gather X amount of this thing. So there's like a thing on the ground that has a name. You see it's written a certain way and you need to gather this amount of it.
Yeah.
Turn it in. And at first, maybe it's not even that you're properly reading things, but it becomes like an image thing, or like you recognize letters, you connect those things in your mind. I started going to school after I started playing World of Warcraft. So World of Warcraft came first, and then I started going to school. And like at that point, it was so bad. I couldn't even like write my own name in English. But with school, I'd go in and like, I'd hear English every day, but then I'd go home and play World of Warcraft. And it was kind of like extra lessons or supplemental teaching that suddenly things started to make sense and I could read the words. And as a 7 or 8-year-old, then at that point, I had vocabulary that like the average 7 or 8-year-old didn't. Because of the kind of words that are used in RPGs. So that was really funny, and it made like my spelling really strong when I was young. Like reading comprehension as well from like reading quests and that like was really good. Kind of like those things together. I feel like I give a lot of credit to World of Warcraft for learning English, and I don't think that I would have caught up as fast to the other kids as I did if I didn't have that at home. Because again, no one's forcing me to do this. I want to do this. I want to play my video games, but like at the same time, I'm learning something. So that was kind of how it worked for me.
No, that's fantastic. And I can relate to that. I only speak English. I can barely speak English at times, but, the vocabulary being far more extensive than my peers growing up. I was like, well, they say these words in RPGs. So, I know that. Or like I played growing up a lot of civilization and strategy games. So like learning basic history and things like that. Like, when I was 9 or 10 and they said, oh, we're going to learn about World War II. I'm like, I've been killing Nazis since I was like 5 years old. So like, I'm ready for this. But tell me a little bit about the Elder Scrolls series as well, because looking at your content and, from the name Angelikatosh, Akatosh, it's very clear that that's a big passion of yours. Tell me, how did you get into that series and what it means to you?
So Elder Scrolls has been like a massive influence, not just for the channel, but I think for me as a person and the sort of stuff that I'm into even now as an adult. The first Elder Scrolls game I played was Oblivion. And the story of how I got Oblivion was, it was actually my younger brother. He had this thing with his baby teeth that they were so complicated to get out. Like they wouldn't just fall out. You had to go to a dentist who had pliers to get them out because they were like really big.
Oh, so, poor guy.
It was like proper suffering. So anytime we did that, our dad would like take us. There was a place in the town that we lived in at the time. It was a shop called Game, which has all been closed down since, but we went there every time after the dentist and we'd pick up a game. And it was my brother who found Oblivion because he really liked the look of was it the Knights of the Nine expansion, I think? The specific aesthetic, like the armor and everything. And that was the game that we ended up picking up, and there was no way back since. Like my first experience with Oblivion was watching my brother play. And it was something about like how saturated the colors were and just the way that the world looked.
It was very like storybook almost, it felt like.
Like it was magical on the screen. It's like something like a fairy tale. I don't know. It just felt so different to other games. Like World of Warcraft is a very colorful game, but there's something about like the way that you could interact with the environment. Like even you start off in the jail cell where there's like a little jug on a table. The fact that you can pick that up.
And like knock things over. Like it blew my mind at the time.
It feels like you're there. Like you're literally in the world. And when you're like 8 or 9 years old, that's crazy. So my first experience was watching him play. It was very rough. We didn't know how to open the inventory to like equip weapons, so we'd box with all the speeders in the sewers.
pugilist.
Horrible. The zombie as well. You have to box him.
Yeah.
There were weapons and swords, we just didn't know how to equip them. And then when you first see the world, like when you exited the sewers, and you know that scene
Beautiful
in
part.
Cyrodiil?
Yes.
That's it. Like locked in forever. I knew that Oblivion was going to be in my life forever, just like after seeing that particular scene. And then as I started playing it myself, there were so many things and details in it that weren't in other games that, for me personally, like it was really important. Things like clothing, which is like a big element of like what I started my channel off of.
I know those videos. I've seen them. But yeah, it's great.
I like those details were so important to me, and the fact that all of that kind of existed in this world, it was just nice to be there. And then you get into the story and everything else, and it's just so, you know how the Lord of the Rings is like overwhelmingly epic with like all of the things that kind of make it up. It feels like that, you know, and you just want to know more. And there's so many books about like the lore, and all of the characters are really weird and interesting. It's just a lot when you're such a small child. That was probably like my first exposure to an RPG of that scale that wasn't World of Warcraft, but something that was so colorful, multi-dimensional, and had details that like I, as a little girl, really cared about. You know, that it wasn't just all like
guys hitting each other with axes.
I liked that part of it a lot, but also I kind of wanted something for like my girly side too, and I felt like Oblivion just had all of that, you know? Yeah,
and you bring up a few points that resonate with me. You know, of course, that exit from the sewer when you see the whole world. Oblivion was my first Elder Scrolls game as well, and you know, I'd played plenty of open world games before, but there was just something about that entrance into the world at large, and the game, you know, telling you, okay, you have this main quest, go find you know, Sean Bean, what do you forget his character, Brother Martin, and but really it just the world design, you would see, you know, maybe a little lake over here, or you would see, you know, an island or something in the distance. Like they did such a good job of intricately sculpting it to allow for that player freedom. And you know, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Angelika, where the lore of that game was of a caliber that I had not experienced before as well. I you know, I played a lot of Final Fantasy games growing up, other RPGs, but just digging into the depth of races and characters and history, it is very akin to Lord of the Rings in that respect. And, you know, for me personally, when I saw Lord of the Rings, that was like a huge door opening for me as well. I'm sure it was a similar situation for you. But yeah, tell me about, you know, with the Elder Scrolls games, you've played Oblivion, you started with Oblivion, you know, of course, moving on to Skyrim. What do you think is like your favorite part of those games? I mean, there's so many different things to each one, but what really absorbs you in an Elder Scrolls game?
I like the dynamics between like having to go into deep, dark caves and ruins, like Alien ruins or whatever, but then also having quests and like important things to do within the cities. So I absolutely love the design of cities, particularly in Oblivion, the whole like medieval aesthetic, the castles, Skingrad, you know, Cheydinhal, they're so beautiful. And like that little bit of intrigue and the fact that like people that live in these cities have their secrets too. And there's something really messed up going on behind this door here. And, you know, kind of invading those NPCs' lives and figuring out what's wrong with them and how you can participate in that. Or sometimes if you have a choice as well, like you have to, you know, choose to kill someone or not. Things like that, having that control and power, but also within city walls and like peaceful locations. I just love that. Like I'm a bit of a horror fan myself, and there's something like really scary about just like a peaceful, pretty looking city having like really messed up people behind closed doors. You know?
It's like that one city. I forget what one it is. I haven't played it in forever, but you know, you go in and it's beautiful, and then you learn, a guy comes up to you and says like, they're trying to kill me, and there's a whole quest to figure out, is someone trying to kill him? Who is it? And you know, that's such a good point I never considered, where the cities are these like beautiful, kind of serene locations, but then there's pretty much in every single one, there's some darkness going on in them. That's awesome. And it's funny you mentioned sort of like the side of things where there is sort of that more traditionally, you could say, girly aspect where you can look at how you dress your character and things like that. It's not just swords and sorcery. I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I just got her playing Oblivion last year. So
wow.
yeah, so I mean, she does it with me, but it's the same thing where I'll be like, how about we go on a quest, honey? And she's like, I want to look at my outfit. I'm like, that's fine, we can do that. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand you have a daughter as well, right?
I do. She's 1, so she's not quite at Oblivion being able to sit at the computer age, but she will be educated the way that I was educated.
Well, I know in your recent video on Warcraft 3, I was laughing so hard because it's so relatable where you're working on getting better at Warcraft 3, and in one of the videos you're rocking the little rocker with that. I did the same thing. I'd have her sleeping on me. I'd be playing WoW or on my Switch or something. So tell me a little bit about that, raising a child and gaming and stuff like that. I think you mentioned in a video that you have like World of Warcraft music sometimes when she goes to sleep. Tell me about how you've kind of introduced her to that, even though she is quite young.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, I don't know, like video game music in general, right? It's like classical music. It's really pretty and peaceful. And I think that, I don't know, maybe if she listens to it when she's so young, the connection that she has to that music will later translate to her liking the same games that I liked, possibly. But also, it's just kind of like, on a personal level, it just brings me peace as well. Like, I don't know, the next generation, right? This is something I grew up with, and this is something that she gets to have. For me, it's just like a really special connection to be able to have with her. I think that a lot of times people, they're kind of scared of becoming parents, and especially for moms, like your life changes a whole lot. Everything is so different now, but it's so important to like not forget who you are with that as well. And because I grew up with video games the way that I did, like everything that makes them up is a lot of what makes me as well. And so I want to retain all of those elements as much as I can. If it's like, the case that, well, I don't really have that much time to play video games, but at least like when I'm putting my daughter to sleep, there's like video game music playing in the background. Like I always have that connection to my hobby as well. And I think that even from like a mental health perspective, it's just really nice, just other things that make you distract yourself from the fact that, well, everything is different now, but it doesn't have to be like people say it is like really bad and scary, you're still you, and you still like the things that you like. And it's nice to have the next generation and your kids that will also go on to like the things that you like. And I mean, even my daughter's name, her name is Arwen.
Oh, so, beautiful. I love it.
So it's like another way to kind of connect me and her as well to things that I really love, and I feel like it suits her so well as well. It's so pretty. So
that's fantastic. And I will say, I'm not a parenting expert. I have one kid, but it does get easier. I'll definitely say that. My wife and I, we originally wanted to have 2 kids. We decided to stick with 1 just because she's a handful, but we've always said, if we could start with a second kid at maybe like 4 or 5 months, that would be easy, because those first few months are definitely tough. But you do bring up a good point where I kind of do that with my daughter too, where I introduce her to a lot of games and let her find her own path with it. But more often than not, she's sort of drawn to it. Her and I play World of Warcraft together. She's a little mage now.
Aww.
And I'm definitely more of a gamer than a parent, because there will be time, most of it I'm like, oh, let's do this, but we get a bad poll, I'm like, Fireball, what are you doing? Like, focus on that. So I'm like, we're gonna die here. But we're talking a bit about Lord of the Rings as well. Tell me a little bit about your introduction there and how that's impacted your life and your interests.
Yeah, the Lord of the Rings, massively impactful, not just for me, but like for my entire family. And it's this connection that I have with my entire family as well.
That's wonderful.
I don't remember the first time that I watched it. I'm not going to lie. I was maybe like 3 or 4 years old. I don't remember the first time. But what I do remember is that every year since, rewatched it with my family.
I love it.
Every year we rewatch it. And sometimes it's probably been even more than once a year. It is just we've watched it to the point that it feels less like a movie and fiction and more like this is like a part of history that happened.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
like shaped the world that it is right now.
Yeah.
It's just it's more than a story, and it's so like deeply ingrained in even like the relationship that I have with my family, because it's just something that we share and something that we've always watched together. And then also like the connection that it has to all of the video games that I like, because obviously like even Cyrodiil is very Lord of the Rings-esque. Originally, like Cyrodiil was actually conceptually supposed to be like a jungle type place.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm assuming they altered it because that was around the time of Lord of the Rings, and that was what was huge.
Yeah, because Morrowind was like so alien and different, and I guess with the popularity of the Lord of the Rings, well, they just wanted to go with something that was a bit more, I guess, that people would understand easier, maybe, or that maybe what they felt people would connect better with. And I'm not saying that people wouldn't connect with the jungle, but like they were probably right at the time this would be more popular.
It was a few years after Return of the King. Yeah, I get where you're coming from, because I'm like, oh, a jungle in Cyrodiil, that'd be cool. But like Lord of the Rings just won every Oscar ever. Like, I get it.
The influence is undeniable, and not just there, everywhere. And it's like, I don't know. I don't get people that like haven't watched it or don't like it. Like, I get everybody has their own tastes and stuff, but it's just so hard for me to understand, because like absolute cinema in like every way possible. It's like someone saying like, oh, I don't like the Beatles. I'm like, really? Like none of their stuff? Like what? It's basic, but it's also like it is good. This dates me a little bit. I was maybe 12 or so when it came out, and for me, growing up with RPGs and things like that, that I always kind of in my mind was like, I want to see something like grand and something you talked about, like Oblivion with all the lore and the history, and this was before Oblivion came out, again dating me a little bit, but I just remember seeing that movie in theaters. I knew nothing about it. I had read The Hobbit as a kid, but my dad, he said, we're seeing this as soon as it comes out, and that first, the first 5 minutes with the background and the history and the battle at Mount Doom. And I just remember, as you mentioned earlier with Oblivion, there was no stepping back from that. That was it. We actually, I would highly recommend this. It would probably be a bit more of a trip for you where you're at. But my wife and I went to New Zealand 3 years ago, I think. She had to go to Australia for work. So I'm like, well, we got to go to New Zealand. And we did the Hobbiton tour, and Angelika. It was magic. I mean, it really feels so alive, and the care they put into it is just beyond this world. And we went, like, the weather of the day was just like the movie. So I watched that scene now. I'm like, I stood right there. Like, I was working at the office. So would highly recommend it. Maybe when your daughter's much older, you guys can bond over that or something. Bucket list item for sure.
But tell me about some of the games that you're playing right now. I know right now you've been playing a lot of Warcraft 3, and you're on this quest to become better at Warcraft 3 and more competitive with it. What started that? Because it is an older game. It's one that's very near and dear to my heart. What started that sort of quest to get really good in Warcraft? And tell me a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, so Warcraft 3 was also one of my first games that I've ever played. Okay. I played it before World of Warcraft, and people like go onto my stream right now when I'm playing Warcraft. They're like, well, why do you like this game? Like, it's an old man's game. Like, how do you even know about this or whatever? There's something about playing a game when you're really, really young that like alters your brain chemistry a little bit. And I think that there's certain like circuits or connections in my brain that like make me respond to the entire aesthetic and everything that is Warcraft, and it just feels good. I don't know how to like properly explain it, but it's one of those things that like, again, when you're so immersed in Lord of the Rings or in Oblivion, I feel really immersed. I just love the whole aesthetic. I love the color. Right? The color palette, it's so vibrant, and the design of all of the characters, like, it is old Warcraft in like, even like the pre-vanilla sense, the original aesthetic that like World of Warcraft went into that did later end up changing. But there's something about that aesthetic that is so uniquely Warcraft, and it's so interesting to perceive. And so, I don't know if I would get into other RTS But because it's a Warcraft-based RTS, and
Yeah.
I'm so obsessed with Warcraft, it feels good to play. And in terms of like wanting to be good at it, this is something that my brother started. So he started playing it over a year ago himself. And I remember he told me for the first time when he beat Insane AI as like a custom game. And I'm like, how did you do that? Because I couldn't even beat Easy Computer. It like feels really hard. It's so not like the campaign, because like we've beaten the campaign and that's fine, but
it's a very different strategy on the multiplayer.
Yeah, because like campaign is like non-standard. Like, you know, you go into a mission and there's already a bunch of buildings there, and you have like a non-standard way to win whatever mission you're on. But when it comes to PvP, there's a build order. There is a way to do things. You have to creep. Sometimes you have to steal the creep, or you harass early. I like to harass early. I'm a very aggressive player.
A very Zerg player, in terms of
So getting into it from that perspective and seeing that there's a big community behind it right now, it's something that I think I just want to participate in, because it's nice to share that with more people. Again, growing up, I didn't speak English. I'm pretty sure Warcraft 3, though, it was one of those games that we did have access to in Russian. So like we did understand. But, you know, it wasn't a game that like people that we knew at school knew about. So I couldn't
it was more niche for you guys.
Exactly. I couldn't really share it with anyone at school. And then growing up as I got older, like most of the people that got into Warcraft 3 was because me or my brother told them to.
You guys were patient zero for Warcraft 3. That's great.
Yeah, but then there's this whole community, and they're doing so many cool things right now. Like there's high-level tournaments that have been happening like this whole time. But then there's like the tournaments for newer players, like what Grubby's doing right now. It's so fun to watch all of that, and at the same time, you know, be on your own journey to get really good. I never considered myself like at a competitive level particularly good at any game, but getting to a stage with Warcraft 3 where I'm like winning games, it feels really, really good. And because it's something that I really like, it's just satisfying. You know, you just do stuff for the soul. Like Warcraft 3 for me is something that I'm just doing for the soul, and it's nice to participate in that.
And you know, you talk about all the tournaments going on with Warcraft 3. The staying power of that game has been tremendous, because I didn't play it until maybe like 2008, 2009. So I was definitely late to it. I played a lot of Age of Empires growing up. That was sort of my RTS game. But you know, that and Age of Empires, they both have such vibrant communities today, where in a lot of these interviews, it's funny that you mentioned a game like Warcraft 3 and you talk about such passion with it. So many people I talk to in these interviews have said that older games where people really had to struggle to make them, and you can kind of see that, like you talk about that old Warcraft aesthetic where it's like, okay, the characters are blocky, the environments aren't perfect, but a lot of heart went into this, and you can kind of feel that when you play those games.
Yeah, absolutely. It's in the detail. You know, when you zoom into like even a single unit, it looks blocky from far away, but like they've got stuff going on, you know. There's like even little details, even like on weapons and things like that. It's just the fact that somebody like, you know, did that by hand
and thought of that.
It was art. It was conceptualized, and then it was created into this. Like it's nice to experience art in that way. It feels really good, you know.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's funny, if anybody who's watching this interview after some of the other ones, because I think I have 5 total, this is going to be like a broken record, but because we all talk about this in these interviews. It's so funny because, you know, when you're playing a game and you can tell like it was kind of a pain to make this with that technology, I just appreciate it so much more, because I can, you know, these days it's so easy to make anything, you know. I don't want to be pedantic here, but you can look at like AI slop putting out things that would have taken hundreds of hours before. So seeing something like, you know, Warcraft 3, or even vanilla World of Warcraft, and you think like, how did they place this world? How did they make this? And, you know, how did they think of all these systems with such a small team? It really goes a long way. And with Warcraft 3, I got to ask a very important question. We'll end the call if the question goes wrong. I'm kidding. Arthas, was he justified or not?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Do you know, I felt that you were going to ask me if he did anything wrong. It's a really complicated matter, right? Because on the one hand, I feel like Arthas was very arrogant and very ahead of himself. And at that point, he was getting to a very desperate state.
Yeah.
He's this young prince, and he feels like he needs to prove something, and he's out there. He's been tasked with like seeing what's going on with the plague. He's
a lot is there. On his shoulders. Yeah,
there's a lot riding on this, and then you get to a point where you feel like if you kill everybody here, you're going to contain a wider issue that's going to spread across all of Lordaeron.
Yeah,
and it's a snap decision that he made, and it could they have potentially looked at doing something else like Jaina suggested? And even there's I've read the book. There's a book as well on Arthas. It's back there somewhere, but it's
I'll
got
put it
more
on the
detail.
screen. I'll find it.
Yeah. It's got more detail on Jaina's thought process, as well as like how they could have maybe studied it more or whatever and like looked into it. But it was also a matter of time.
Yeah.
And sometimes somebody has to be the man that like steps up and says, we got to do this. I'm very much in the middle. Because, he went in, he killed entire families.
Yeah.
But also, they would have just gone with Mal'Ganis anyway. In the long run, it did nothing. It was futile. It was much further gone than any of them had known.
At that point, they thought that would make a difference, but it really didn't.
I think he had good intentions. And I think he had a lot riding on him as a very, very young prince. But ultimately, all of it was useless. And that's it's very sad, isn't it? Like Arthas' entire story is so tragic.
Yeah. I constantly tell my wife, because she's not a gamer, and there's certain games where they'll make an adaptation of like The Last of Us, where she never played that. I played it. I thought the first one I thought was brilliant. Wasn't a big fan of the second one, but
exactly same.
Are you the same way? Okay, we got to talk about that for sure. But when The Last of Us came out on TV, I'm like, trust me, like, this is amazing. So, the depth of storytelling that some of these games had, especially when you don't really expect it. Like, Warcraft 3 came out, I think like late 90s, early 2000s. And at that point in time, gaming was, while some games had fantastic stories, it was still viewed as very childish, I think, by the general public. And you have something like that come around where to this day, I think about it. I'm more on Team Arthas. I don't like Uther at all. Like, I would say I'm Team Jaina. I just hate how Uther was like, I can't do this. I'm like, okay, you're a lawful, stupid paladin. Like, you got to think about, like, to your point, there's a real thing happening here. Like, we have a ticking timer here. But I do think, Jaina was ultimately the one who was kind of in the right about it. But I support Arthas, but it's a tough pill to swallow. I'm a history nerd, and it's like Henry V at the Battle of Agincourt, similar situation where he had like 30,000 men and they captured 30,000 French prisoners. And they're like, well, what do we do? He's like, well, we have to kill them, because once they realize there's that many, they're going to rise up against us. And it's similar vein where it's like, well, that's wrong, but like I get part of it. So there's just a depth to Arthas's character that you really don't see in a lot of games.
No, yeah, that's totally right. And you're forgetting that like he's human. He's
exactly.
A human. Yes, he's this paladin of the Silver Hand, but he's also just a human. And from a human point of view, like what do you do? You're tasked with this. What if you like inaction in this case is also an action, and a very big one. And like, had he not done that, would they have known that, the spread and how far things had gotten? Was it because they didn't do what they did in Stratholme?
Yeah.
It's like a butterfly effect after that. Like,
like it's one of those things I think about that like weekly for the rest of my life, I think. But let me ask this, because, we mentioned The Last of Us, and, transitioning into some other games, I got to preface it by this, and I want to get your opinion on this. Since having a kid, have you found that in games or media in general that you're a lot more sensitive to like the plight of kids and stuff? Is that something you're experiencing?
Absolutely, because I was 13 when I first played The Last of Us. And like, yeah, I get it. It's sad. The opening is sad, but like, I moved on from it. Whatever, you start playing. I was editing a video recently. I don't remember which video of mine it was, but I needed a part from The Last of Us, and I was like, I just needed a part from that like first opening sequence. And I'm recording it, but I'm also watching it. And when it gets to the part where Sarah gets shot, I actually started crying. Like, dude, I know what happens. I've seen this before, but it's like, it hits different,
I completely agree. You wear your heart on your sleeve, and there's games. You mentioned you're a horror fan. I'm assuming you've played Resident Evil 7, 8, 9. Have you played through those?
So I've played Requiem, the most recent one. I started playing 7 in VR, but the problem is I get so sick with VR, I never ended up finishing it.
Yeah.
It was a horrible experience, but
I can't do VR either, but this doesn't spoil anything. It's within the first 10 minutes of Resident Evil 8. The main character's daughter gets taken away from him, and she's just a little infant, like crying, and at that point my daughter was about a year old when I played that game, and the daughter's name is Rose. That's my daughter's middle name. So I was like, and I kept seeing online people being like, this game's not that scary. I'm like, I'm having a panic attack right now, like thinking about my own child.
Yeah, you start to take these things so personally when it involves kids and you have kids.
Yeah.
It's a totally different experience. Like even in Resident Evil 9, again, without spoiling anything, there is a child involved. And like I just felt so maternal towards that child in playing the game.
No, I'm the same way. And like it sounds so terrible, but like previous to having a kid, if there was like a kid, like Sarah at the beginning of last episode, like, oh well, that sucks, but let's keep going. But now like that stays with you. It hurts. So what other games do you like to play? Because on your channel we focus a lot on the Elder Scrolls games, World of Warcraft, and a few other adjacent games. But what are some of the other big games that were really influential to you, either growing up or more recently?
So a game that I've actually never talked about on my channel because, well, I've like mentioned it here and there, but like I want to do a proper video for it. And the reason that I haven't done a video about it to this point is because I just want to do it in a way that really does it justice, just because of how influential this game was. And that is Beyond Good and Evil.
Oh, and amazing game. Yes.
That game, I don't know. It's, again, following the theme of it's one of the first games that I've played. It is just from start to finish absolutely stunning. It's more than a game, and it's more than just a story, and like it's very simple. If you play it now, especially if you didn't play it like way back when, it's pretty small. It's not a very long game. It's quite limited in terms of what you can do and what you actually have to do, but within that it's beautiful. Yeah. There's like, I don't know what other way to describe it. It's so like, for me, because it's like a female protagonist as well, like most of the games that I played, unless you have to create your own character, most protagonists are male. Like I played the Half-Life games when I was little, GTA San Andreas is also one of my first games, or like a game like Diablo where your character is like locked to a gender. So I really liked playing Druid, and Druid is a man. But in a game where the protagonist is a girl, and she's, it's a female protagonist, but not in a Lara Croft way, which was also really refreshing. I don't know, as a young girl, she was brave, and, there's all these really good values, and it's the way that she overcomes situations. Like, it's not all just fighting. You have to be clever. There's a stealth element. There's photography. There's a bit of puzzle solving. It's just, like, everything that makes up this game and its story and its characters deeply, deeply influential. As an adult, I think about this game all the time. I replay it frequently as well. And I'm also super heartbroken about the lack of a sequel. Now, there was a sequel announced for 2008, which would have been the ideal option, but then they announced in 2017, which is at this point almost a decade ago, a prequel that kind of goes in a bit of a different direction. So, with how much time has passed, like I do lose hope and interest.
Same.
With every year that goes by, but I really hold on to the original, to that first game, because it's an amazing game. It's so good.
And you bring up such a good point about the main character. I think her name was Jade. Is that
Jade.
Okay? It's because I had that game on the GameCube, I believe, and the main character for female protagonists of the time, I mean, the standard was, it's Lara Croft, and it's like, what's her personality? Well, she doesn't have one. She has big, polygonal breasts. So that's all we care about. And it's like, there's more to that than in what you should do with characters. And with Jade, I think you're absolutely right, where she had so much to her that you didn't really see in a lot of female protagonists in that era, where she was, brave, daring, curious. I loved the photography in the game as well, because that was such a unique mechanic. You had Pokemon Snap and that was it. And I think you bring up such a great point about the quality of that protagonist and that game. I have a story about that game, if I can go on a tangent, where so I was raised like super religious. Like I was Baptist, so church started at like 8 a.m. and went to like 4 o'clock on a Thursday. Like
Wow.
I spent a lot of time, and I've since gone away from there. Not really my thing, but the pig side character in that game, if you take damage, he has like a 10% chance of saying like Jesus Christ. And my dad heard that and he said, get rid of that game. And I had to get rid of it. And I was so mad. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, it's so great. So like, I have a sore spot about that game. And I bought it on Steam a few years ago and replayed it just because I was so angry that I got denied my Beyond Good and Evil. I never beat it as a kid. So I was very upset about that.
So it's no point asking if you played Diablo as a kid, right? No Diablo in your household.
No, I went to my best friend's house and we played Diablo, and you're killing the demon, so it's a good, it's a holy game. But yeah, you mentioned, I have to dig into this. San Andreas was one of your early games too. How'd you come across that and get into that at such a young age?
Well, it was on the PC.
Oh, okay. So you'd be like, all right, mom and dad, I ain't seen this.
My dad was a programmer, which is like how I got into video games, because it wasn't like a very, very common thing to have a computer at home at the time. But because of his job, we actually had two. We had one that like was, from my mom's relatives. They bought one, and then he had his own, so we could play LAN Quake with my little brother at the time too.
Yeah.
But San Andreas was on the PC, and it was in English, so I couldn't do any of the missions. Had no idea what to do, but it was the perfect chaos simulator. Just a free-for-all. You start riding the bike. That's the initial thing that you do. And then you go out there and you steal taxis. Yeah. And there was this thing we liked to do in San Andreas, which was like an infinite chaotic like traffic train where cars would continuously explode. So whatever way you set it up,
you'd be like dominoes, kind of.
Keep coming and keep exploding, and it was just really funny. Things like that. Like it made absolutely no sense. And like beating up people in the street. Like most of the games that we played, you couldn't really beat up like NPCs that are like friendly NPCs. Yeah. But here you can just come up to a guy and like hit him. Yeah. And I know maybe before anyone like clutches their pearls, right? I was a kid. I didn't really understand, but it was kind of fun. Yeah.
Well, it's still fun to this day. I know GTA 6 is coming out this year, and I've already put in a week off from work because I'm like, I need my time with.
Hopefully, it does come out when they say it does, right?
Yeah. Don't curse us here, Angelika. I'm praying it comes out in November. So tell me a little bit about what games you're playing right now, and what games you're looking forward to that might be coming out either this year or in the future.
So one game that I've been playing as like a newer game is Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon. Okay. Big fan of that game. Beautiful indie like Scrolls-like title. It scratches the Skyrim itch in a way that like replaying Skyrim again wouldn't. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're tired of waiting for Elder Scrolls 6, but you want something that feels like Skyrim, play Tainted Grail, absolutely. Okay. It also has like a bit of a Souls game vibe to it. So kind of like, it reminds me a lot of Elden Ring. Like in Elden Ring, you go out and it's like this kind of like open, grassy world. Tainted Grail, once you like leave the starter area, is a lot like that too. Okay. Even though, and like the combat has like little bits that remind me of Souls games as well, but it's mostly like a Scrolls game. Very, very good. Very satisfying and rewarding exploration.
Awesome.
Dark story, dark themes. Just, it hits the spot. I really recommend it.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, and other than that, I guess it's a lot of Warcraft 3. Warcraft 3 is a big commitment. I really...
it's a full-time job.
I've gotten coaching from somebody that's like good at the game now. I'm locking in. I'm trying my best. I was playing a lot of Diablo 2 recently because the Reign of the Warlock launched, and I wanted to...
I saw that. My best friend, the same one that I was able to play Diablo 2 with oh God, 20 years ago, is now playing that too. And I've wanted to get into that.
Yeah, the Warlock, you know, it's interesting because I'm such a purist when it comes to these things, like adding something to a 20-year-old game that hasn't had a content update like this since, you know, the Lord of Destruction. It's crazy.
It's risky. But
I think they pulled it off nicely. I really enjoyed it. I enjoy the Warlock class, not even gonna lie. You know, as somebody that, like, I'm really old school when it comes to these things, and people give out to me about it too, and they called me a boomer, but really, really enjoyed that. Really enjoy the Warlock. That's a lot of fun. Got to hell mode in hardcore, actually.
Oh, wow.
Still got to finish hardcore hell mode, though.
Yeah.
I got sidetracked with the Warcraft 3 and just so locked into that now. Nobody asked me anything.
I was going to say, jumping between hell mode in Diablo 2 and Warcraft 3, that's very intense to juggle both of those. I do rune
farming, like, in between. Yeah. I'm like farming runes for insight from my merc, and I'm just like dipping in and out of the tower, and then I'm doing PvP on Warcraft 3. So yeah, I've got my hands full with that. Other than that, like, the only new game that I played recently was Resident Evil Requiem. We played through the whole thing on stream. Masterpiece.
Loved
10
it.
out of 10. No notes. Great game.
Yeah, when they showed the trailer for it, and they showed in the trailer that there's this nurse who gets chainsawed by a zombie, and then Leon says, "I want a second opinion." I was like, "I'll pay $500 for this game. I need to play this. This is mine."
The one-liners got you.
Yeah, I was like, I'm totally on. And you know, you mentioned that you're a fan of horror games. What are some of those horror games that are really close to your heart that you really enjoy?
All right, so all of Outlast 1, 2, and Trials. Outlast is so messed up, right? I have so many mixed feelings about Outlast, especially Outlast Trials, right? So the first game, 10 out of 10, masterpiece, no notes. Second game, I felt that some parts of it were a little long-winded.
I agree.
Maybe it could have been like concentrated, but I really enjoyed the themes in it, like that like religious aspect, Papa Noth, all of that. His icons everywhere. Super enjoyed that. Really dark. Like, it really left something here. And then we get to Trials, and I feel like Trials, I don't know, ethically or from that kind of point of view, how far is too far? And like, you know, you try to be chill with these things. Like, I'm not like an 80-year-old grandma, whatever. Like, I'm hip. I get it. But also, sometimes you're playing it and you're like, yikes, this is a little, you know, a little... A lot of the themes in the game, I feel like they kind of that they're less about making things interesting in some cases and more about shocking you with like sexual horror in that sense.
I feel like from Outlast 1 to because I didn't play Trials, I played 1 and 2, but I feel like it was going from, you know, genuine horror to kind of like shock, which I like things more on that side where it's like, oh my God, I'm like horrified.
And at the same time, Trials is so fun because of the gameplay, because you get to play it with other people. So I bought it as soon as it was like possible to play. I think it was like early access or something, or whatever it's called before like the full game. And I bought it for myself and I bought it for my brother as well. So we played it together, and it's just for a co-op game, super fun, super stressful, really good. It's just that I wish that maybe sometimes they would explore something other than like the sexual horror a little bit more, because like there was a lot of that. They always leaned that way. This isn't like a surprise or
even from the first one.
From the first game, there was a lot of those kind of like really uncomfortable themes and like the nudity as well. And then you get into Whistleblower. Actually, Whistleblower was very, very kind of...
I don't think I played Whistleblower.
Whistleblower DLC, like a warning without spoiling anything, very much on that side as like Trials is. So then, you know, going into Trials, it wasn't a surprise that they're like that, but it's also kind of like they have so much potential for more, and you kind of wish that they don't just concentrate on that one thing, because like, yes, it's shocking and, you know, it's scary and uncomfortable, but you kind of also want to see their range, because they do have range.
Agreed.
You know?
Agreed completely. And I loved Outlast 1 and 2. For some reason, I just didn't get around the Trials when it came out. But range, I think, is the key word there, because I really feel like they didn't limit themselves, at least in the first two, to kind of one type of horror. And it's, you know, with the religious aspect in the second one, I loved that. I loved like kind of some of the body horror stuff in the first one, where I forget which one it was, but you're getting like mutilated and stuff. And I just love, you know, I hate when horror is just sort of one note and, oh, this is a horror movie that's body horror, that's it. And I like when it kind of mixes things there. So I'll definitely have to get Outlast Trials. And I got to ask, as part of this, I always like to recommend games, based on what you're telling me. Have you ever played Soma? Have you ever played that? It's a horror game.
No.
Oh
never.
my God. Okay. So I think based on what you're telling me, Angelika, I think you would like that. So it was made by the people that made Amnesia. If you ever played that,
I watched PewDiePie play it. Never played it myself, but I watched the PewDiePie playthroughs.
So Amnesia was a little rough around the edges. It was their first sort of jaunt there. But I was talking to Soma, to another woman on one of these interviews, and she played it. And the thing with Soma is it's the type of horror that sticks with you, where it's like psychological, where it's about like, what is life? What is death? Like, what is, what does it mean to actually be alive? And it's one of those things similar to me thinking about Arthas every week, where like every few weeks I think back to that, and it's a level of horror that few games I've played have ever done. So if you like horror games, or on the psychological side, would highly recommend that. I think I made a video about it like a year or two ago as well, but there's spoilers to the whole thing. So if you get that game, check it out. I think you would like it a lot.
Thank you. I'll check it out. Yeah, for sure. What year did it come out in?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll put it up on the screen here, but I want to say like 2017, 2018, maybe about 10 years ago, something like that.
Pretty old at this point, right?
Yeah.
It's weird to call something from 2018 an old game.
It makes me
weird.
I'll be 37 this year, and I'm not looking forward to anything from that, because I think like, 20 years ago was the 90s, and that's not the case. That's
not true.
So you talked a lot about playing Warcraft and Warcraft adjacent games. Did you ever play any like older RPGs, or is that a genre you haven't explored that much?
Let me think. Well, Diablo would be like older. Okay. Let me see. Morrowind is an older RPG that I've discovered like at a later time in my life. But like Daggerfall, actually. I played Daggerfall as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
Not a whole lot, but it's a very interesting experience. There's something about Daggerfall that's very addictive. It's like the specific colors and how vibrant they are, and just like the way that the atmosphere looks. The liminal spaces that are the way that they are because of the engine and because of the way that the game is. It's really alluring. But it's also, there's so many things with it that are kind of hard to get past. I think that I maybe need to spend some more time modding the game before I make it like more playable for myself, which like, I don't really mod my games, but at least like maybe the combat or something. I find the combat in Daggerfall really challenging.
It's rough. I've played a little bit of Daggerfall, and I completely agree on that notion of those liminal spaces, because they procedurally generated everything, and there was something about that, especially for that era, where it just felt so vast. And I mean, it's huge, but like going between towns was a massive journey, and it was so vibrant and it popped so much, but that combat was disgusting. I hated it. If there's any purists who watch this, I'm sorry, but the Daggerfall and Morrowind combat, anytime I've played those games, I have to mod it, because I'm like, I just can't do this.
I you know what, like I can get by with Morrowind combat when you level up after a certain point.
It does get a little bit easier after that, but those first like 5 or 10 levels, I struggle.
Oh my God, miss. It's actually just like, it's like talking to a brick wall. Like absolutely nothing is happening. It's insane.
Yeah, it's the same way with the old Baldur's Gate games. I played through Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 in like the 2010s, and love both of those games. They were so advanced for their time, but the combat at the early levels is the most disgusting thing ever, where you're just watching misses over and over, and like, please help me here. Like, it's just too much.
This isn't helping me to get into the game. You'd think that like they make beginner levels, or like the first few levels, a little easier, a little more manageable, so that people get into a game. Not the older games. No. It's trial by fire. You can either do this now, or you're not doing this at all.
I kind of miss that about some games, because playing some modern games, it sometimes feels like it's really just holding your hand at times. Like, I don't know if you played any of the newer God of War games. you would be on a puzzle, and after 5 seconds they'd be like, "Oh, maybe we should look at this lever." I'm like, "Shut up! I'm trying to figure this."
Proper hints.
Yeah. And having a daughter who's now playing games, I can see when she plays a game, she'll get frustrated pretty easily if it doesn't open things up for her. But if she sticks with it, it kind of really absorbs her. And I feel like those games that were a lot more difficult, you think about old school World of Warcraft or Warcraft 3 or Diablo, it starts so difficult, but if you start to learn the systems, you kind of feel really good about yourself. Like, oh, I know a secret. Like, I know how to do this. And it just makes you go deeper and deeper, at least in my opinion.
It's better for the brain. I think that like video games actually have a lot of value from like a brain training perspective. Like they make you think more deeply about things. And I think in the long run, it just makes you quicker at certain things, maybe even like for some people, maybe maths or puzzle problem solving. I think video games have a big hand in that. And when things are oversimplified, it's kind of like, getting GPT to do everything for you. You stop thinking yourself, and then, somewhere down the line, it gets hard for you to think at all without this like aid. This is something that like I dislike about modern games, but I also dislike it about like modern cartoons that make everything so they serve everything to you on a silver platter. You don't have to think about things. Like I grew up with Soviet cartoons, like really old ones, like my parents would show me, and it's all very peaceful, calm, and to understand the story, you actually have to like listen. You have to watch it and listen. You can't be like messing about or you're gonna miss something, right? Whereas like newer cartoons, I feel like there's so much repetition and shoving things like literally in your face, and the lack of a general plot with any sort of a complication that makes it so children don't have to think either. And it's an issue, it's an issue in video games, but it goes far beyond video games with like hints. It's just with like things like AI, it's just getting people to stop thinking,
Yeah, I completely agree. And, having a young daughter, if I ever hear Coco Melon again in my life, I'm going to just lose it, because she liked that. And it was that exact thing where it's just like brain rot content. So we had to limit that a lot. But I completely agree, where it's just like this content that just explains things to you. And I know Netflix, there's stuff out there about if you want to make a movie for Netflix, you have to write it in a way that assumes your audience will be on their phone and not paying attention. So there will be characters like coming in and saying like, "Oh, it's so good to see you, sister. I haven't seen you since we did this talking in a stilted way, because they assume people aren't paying attention." And I'm a huge film fan. I love watching old movies, and older movies, they don't care. They're like, if you don't pick it up, you're gonna lose the plot.
Crazy. Yeah, that's kind of like how so where I'm from, we have a lot of like Turkish and Brazilian TV series that are translated to Russian, which is why that they're like really, really popular. And when you watch them, that they're made for like older women as well to understand, like grannies that sit at the TV and watch. And so there's a whole lot of repetition. So they'll say like a word twice, or they will refer to people as sister or brother or whatever. But like it's for grannies to like keep up with the plot. Maybe if they missed a few episodes or whatever. It's crazy that like in general, movies and TV are also catering to people that just because of our like general attention span, we are like grannies watching Turkish TV series. It's crazy.
I'm totally fine with if it's material aimed at someone who's 80, hey, repeat as much as you want. I get it. But if it's for anyone else, like you treat your audience like an adult, and I feel like the material's so much better. And I know we're at time, but I'd love to ask as well, movies, and you talked a lot about different TV shows and things like that. If you don't mind me asking, when did you move from Russia over to where you're at currently? About what age were you?
So I was born in Latvia actually, but like my family's Russian, so our culture, everything like language wise, we're all Russian. But I myself was born in Latvia, and then we moved when I was 6. Okay. So gotcha. I've been in Ireland. This is our 20th year.
Very cool.
Ireland, which is like, I feel here is home, you know? Like I wasn't, I remember Latvia, but like here, because I kind of grew up here, and everything is here now. Ireland for the past 20 years.
You kind of,
This is home, but I still, I'm still in touch with my culture, my language, thanks to my parents who are like very adamant about the fact that, when you're home, speak Russian. Because like my brother and I, we would get lazy. We would start speaking English to each other at home.
Yeah.
And had they just ignored that and let us do what we're doing, I wouldn't have Russian. And I think that languages are so important, especially if it's something that keeps you in touch with your culture and like where you're from and who you are in general, and like family from over there. So essential. I had so many kids in my school who were also Russian who didn't speak it at all.
Oh, that's a shame.
Because their parents were cool with them speaking English at home.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the parents, they did speak Russian, and the English that they spoke broken English to their kids. So it's kind of like they're not getting the benefit of their native language.
Yeah.
And they're also listening to a broken version of their main language at home.
Yeah. We need to get more of those people playing World of Warcraft so they can learn both the languages.
Yeah, exactly. And like funny, I learned Spanish in Fortnite,
How many languages do you speak?
Three.
Okay, that's like three more than me. I can barely speak one. It's funny because I completely agree with your sentiments where understanding language and culture allows you to have this link to other places and other people. I've always been terrible at language. Like I was decent in school, but language was something that I really struggled with, and I've always wished I could learn another one. But I think raising my daughter, she's learning more languages like Spanish, a little bit of German from her friends, and getting her immersed in that is so important. And I'm assuming your daughter's going to be bilingual, at least bilingual, starting off with.
Yeah, like I speak Russian to her at home all the time.
Yeah.
Obviously, English. She listens to like music in English. She loves the Bluey soundtrack. All of the music from there is like in English.
That's not going to change. Bluey's going to be around for a while for you.
Oh, we love Bluey in this house.
Same.
Big Bluey fans, all of us suddenly. But also when she goes to school, Irish is going to be very important for her, or Gaelic.
True. Okay.
Yeah, so I did Irish, honors level Irish for my Leaving Cert, which were like the final exams here in school.
Okay.
And it's a very difficult language, and
I can imagine.
One thing that made it more difficult was that we had Irish and Spanish lessons side by side.
Oh, so you're gonna confuse them back and forth.
It was so bad that like by 5 years of learning Spanish in school, I couldn't hold a conversation.
Yeah.
1 year of playing Fortnite with Spanish speakers, I became fluent. Crazy, right? When you don't mix these things. And then Irish, it was very, very hard, but I've retained so many things as well that like I'm going to have to help her with homework, and things like that. So you got to stay on top of the Irish somehow. But yeah, it's English, Russian, Irish, and whatever else down the line.
Those are very different languages too. I have a friend who speaks like French, Spanish, Italian. And he's like, oh, they're all kind of the romantic languages. You kind of get it. But you think of Russian with a different alphabet to English to Irish. That's all very different stuff. So hats off to you. But yeah, I know we're coming up on time here, Angelika. So I could keep going all day talking about games, but I think we'll close out here. And it was a huge pleasure speaking with you. I've been a fan of your content for quite some time now, and I think anyone out there who wants to explore things like Warcraft or the Elder Scrolls, or even some of the stuff we've been talking about in general, go ahead and subscribe to Angelika, because always your content, regardless of what it is, it's presented in a really fun and in a way that kind of sucks me into the whole thing. Like it'll be like a 20-minute video on Skyrim dresses, and I'm like, that's probably not something I'm thinking about, but I've watched the whole thing because it's just really well made. So
thank you.
Angelika, a pleasure speaking with you again, and for anyone watching, go ahead and subscribe to her.
Likewise, thank you so much. It was really, really nice to chat with you. I really enjoyed this. Thank you for having me. Yeah, that's all I got.
Awesome. Well, Angelika, you have a good one. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.